and welcome back to the Under Pressure podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jake Barker. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm sitting in my car. I haven't quite got home from work, so that's my own fault. But we will still push on. Just wanted to thank all of you for tuning in and listening once again as well. Everything's been going great guns now in year 3 of the podcast. Now, on today's show, our guest was drafted number 30 in 2002 National Draft. Played 200 games for the Brisbane Lions between 2003 and 2016, accumulating 70 goals in that time. Dan Merrett, welcome to the Under Pressure podcast.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me aboard, and excited to have a chat.
No worries, mate. Now, always I tend to do this. I always like to begin the show with what are you doing at the moment? What are you doing post footy?
Yeah, always interesting post footy to kind of get yourself sorted again after a career in professional sport. I'm back at the Brisbane Lions. Obviously, I'm decked out at the moment to give the sponsors a bit of a plug, and that's the kind of area I'm in. So I'm in the commercial team at the Brisbane Lions, which look after corporate hospitality, which is corporate boxes, signage, and sponsorship. So it's any footballers out there not knowing what they want to do when they retire. It's a good place to be in. I pretty much spend all my day talking footy.
That's
pretty
awesome.
much to supporters and sponsors. And in the middle, I'm meant to sell a few things here and there. But I don't know about you, Jake, but I'm nothing worse than a hard seller or one of those old school car salesmen or real estate agents that put the pressure on you. So I can't stand those guys. So I'm definitely not a hard seller. It's more, just having a chat, building a relationship, and then if the person's interested in buying, then it works for both parties. So that's what I'm up to at the moment.
Oh, wonderful. So just before we move on, how did you get into that? Did you have a passion for it previously, or?
No. So I think when I left high school, what did you want to be when you grew up? I had no idea. And then I was lucky enough that football became a thing. I did that for 14 years, and I left football not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up. So to be honest, I was a little bit lost when I retired. And I did a little bit of coaching, a little bit of commentary, a little bit of radio. But then good friend of mine, David Lake, owns Tribal Sport, and he offered me a job to come work for him in sales. And I said, mate, I'm not a salesman. I'm not. I can't sell anything.
Yeah.
And by working at Tribal again, I probably learnt the skill of that, being able to build a relationship with someone and their trust, and then if there's a transaction there, then it works for both parties. So I did that for a couple of years in selling sports apparel to local footy clubs and schools. And it's a tough gig. Yeah, it's a tough gig. The sports apparel, mainly because there's so many things that can go wrong, whether it's the sizing, the colours, the names on the back. And generally I mess them all up. So after a couple of years, I wanted to get back into footy. And then lucky enough, there's a sales job going in the commercial team. So I joined that 2 years ago. And then, COVID hit, and I've been in the middle doing this for a couple of years, but hopefully, fingers crossed, this year it all goes smoothly and we get capacity crowds back at the Gabba.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably made your job a little bit, I don't know, would it make it harder or easier with no one coming? It might be a little bit more difficult, or?
Yeah, there was a little bit of, it was easier because, like you said, I got to learn all the systems and everything without actually selling to anyone. But then there was the once we started to get a little bit of a crowd, allowing for COVID capacities, and then change of games, and then also we were lucky enough to have the grand final while I was working. So that was a pretty cool experience, and we got to sell that at the Gabba. So it's been a good couple of years, and fingers crossed. I've been lucky because if I was doing my job when I was playing, geez, it would have been tough work because we didn't win too many games. At the moment, I'm lucky that the boys are actually in good form, which makes my job super easy. They pretty much sell themselves. So Even though I'm in sales, I don't actually sell anything. I just pretty much take orders. But yeah, definitely thankful that I'm not doing my job when I was playing. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely, and good to be back at the club. I'm guessing as well. So
Yeah,
that's always
100%.
fun. Now we'll get into a bit of it. Now, early days. I don't know if this is correct. Were you a rugby player early on? Did you play a bit of rugby
Mate.
growing up? No, you're
I
right.
did. I grew up in Queensland, and as every kid in Queensland, 20 years ago, everyone played rugby league. So I grew up playing rugby league till about the age of 13, when you hit puberty, and everyone else grew and I didn't. And I used to just get absolutely smashed playing rugby, just destroyed every weekend, just getting tackled. And then one game I actually got knocked out and split my chin open, and that kind of rocked me a bit as a 13-year-old. And yeah, I ended up stopping playing rugby league, and then I got into playing touch football and volleyball because my high school, the two non-contact sports, my high school had sports excellence, and then so touch football and volleyball all the way through high school. And then it was only in year 12 that I got into AFL. And that was basically, there's a local footy club across the road from my school pretty much, Surfers Paradise Footy Club. And all my mates actually played, but I just never got into it. And then they were short, so I joined in. And literally 18 months later, I got drafted.
That's insane when you just look at it like that. 18 months you didn't really play, and then 18 months later you're in the professional system. So did you have any injuries prior to getting drafted early, or even when you were playing rugby or anything like that? Was there any major things?
Yeah, nothing major. Like, I reckon I twisted my knee a couple of times, and then before I got drafted, I ended up getting an arthroscope on it because it was just playing up before I got drafted. But yeah, with the non-contact sports, I just never really got all that injured, luckily, and kind of stayed out of trouble. So yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener as soon as I started playing AFL. I reckon pretty much every season, you're due for an injury of some sort. So it's probably getting used to that, and just the process of that. Doing rehab and going through that whole being disciplined and getting yourself back out there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if you can remember, take us through do you remember your first sort of, even just minor or major, whatever it was, injury when you first got to the club, and go through that process that you were just talking about before, about the rehab and sort of being disciplined and whatnot?
So probably my first major injury was a bit of an odd one, where I got wasn't so much it is probably a physical injury, but I ended up getting glandular fever in my second year, and to the point where I missed my whole second year of football, just because I was so fatigued, and every time I tried to come back to training, and being Queensland, as humid as it is, it used to just zap me.
Yeah,
and I'm not an endurance athlete whatsoever, so
I can join you there. Don't worry.
I'm all power, so I'm all short bursts, explosiveness, and I love that with that sort of training. So obviously AFL requires a fair bit of endurance, so I had to work on that a fair bit, but I just was never good at it. So when I had glandular and trying to come back, just that fatigue, it just went on and on for so long, and there's a little bit of the just rest and you'll be right. And I think that went on for about 6 months. I was like, I don't think this is working. So that was in my second year at the club. So that as a young guy wanting to be out there and impress your teammates, impress your coaches, and try and play football, to be pretty much bedridden for about 6 months. It obviously was pretty challenging. And I think that probably started how I thought of injuries, and particularly during rehab, where there's always another way. And I I probably annoyed my physios and doctors a lot by doing this, but I always thought, okay, that's go see the doctor, go see the physio. That's their opinion on getting your rehab done.
Yeah.
But I always thought there's always more you can do. So yes, they'll give you a program and they'll give you some exercises to do, no matter what the injury. But I always just thought there's always more that I can be doing, and so I always asked more questions. I just kept asking questions. What else can I do? What else can I do? And then even outside the club, and probably at times it got me in trouble with our club staff, where I'd go to people outside the club and get their advice, and then that would obviously annoy a few people internally, which fair enough. But I suppose I was just that determined to make sure I was doing everything possible to get myself right. And in the end, it was my career. So it was my body. So if I was, putting my career or my body in someone else's hands, it's probably a little bit controversial. It was like, I definitely meant no offense by it, but I just wanted to make sure I was doing everything possibly I could. And, so that's kind of how I treated every injury that I ever got, where it was just like, there's always more you could do. And I suppose that was in training as well, and the way you prepared yourself for games is that, there's the base, which you can do, which you get from your coaches, but there's always extras you can do that you can find, that you can ask questions, and that, and I just had that, probably that determination to do that, just so I can sleep easy at night, knowing that I've got the best out of myself in every asset. I got a real kick out of being professional. I think I'd won the most professional award a couple of times at the club, but I got a really, really kick out of that, to say, like, I wasn't the most fittest guy. I wasn't the most skillful, but if I could be the most professional, then, I could go on the field on the weekend knowing that I've given myself the best chance to perform. And I used to get a real kick out of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and that's a part of it, as you said. Being professional is a part of being an athlete that people look up to, and different things like that. And obviously, even kids would look like kids over the fence. They'd see the professionalism even off the field and whatnot. It really does make a difference, and as well as with your injuries there. Did you learn to be that, like, sort of that disciplined early on? Or was it something that you gradually learned, or were you just always disciplined from the beginning? Yeah,
mate. I think being disciplined was something that I just always had to be. And to be honest, when thinking back, I remember at a sports awards night in high school, we had one of the local Ironmen come down. And he always, I remember him saying, like, if you want to succeed in anything you want to be, you're going to have to sacrifice. So it's something that always rang true to me, where it was like, if I want to succeed, I knew I had to sacrifice. And that would have been going out on weekends, what I ate, doing stuff like, I'm from the Gold Coast, so I used to enjoy surfing and skating and that sort of thing. And I knew, like, that wasn't the best for my recovery. So, it was just little things like that I just knew I always had to be disciplined in the way I went about it. And it was kind of, always felt like it gave me an edge as well, where in professional sport, you're not only competing against your opponents, but you're competing against your teammates as well to earn a spot in the team. So it was just, something, that I could control. And a lot of stuff in sport, particularly in professional sport, it's like you can dwell over, are we going to win tonight? Or you can dwell on umpires' decisions and all this stuff that you can't control. But I just always held one of those things about things I can control in sport is the way I prepare myself and how disciplined I was. So that's something I really focused on.
Yeah, it sounds like it put you in good stead right throughout your career. It sounds like that advice was really good for you to hear early on, so then you could sort of carry it right through, and you could use it for your entire career.
Yeah, 100%. And it's amazing now, like all the athletes now, boys and girls, they're all so disciplined. Like it's crazy the amount of work they put in off the field. Probably when I first started in 2003, wasn't super, like there was super professional guys like Michael Voss and Simon Black, Jason Ackermanis, or like all that crew. But there was also, the guys I kind of got drafted with. There was a few there, a few of the younger guys that were pretty loose. So
don't go naming names.
No, I definitely won't. But hanging around those guys wasn't probably wasn't beneficial for my career. But it was young guys being young guys, and I think I got a real kick out of being the most disciplined out of that younger crew for sure.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's good to see. And obviously something for the senior guys to sort of look at as well. And, you want to impress the senior blokes too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think it's that whole, the people you surround yourself with, it rubs off on you. So, I used to get a real kick out of hanging out with like the Nigel Lappins and Luke Powers back in the day, and just feeding off their professionalism and the work they did around training. And then, I knew they were guns, so I just wanted to hang out with them as much as possible and learn as much as I could. So it's probably something for anyone aspiring to be, the best they are. It so much revolves around the people you surround yourself with, and what energy rubs off on you, and their habits as well. So, it's probably something you never think about at the time, but when you reflect on it, it's definitely a major part of it.
Let's take it to sort of in the middle of your career and everything like that. Besides the glandular, obviously a massive sort of injury, and probably not an injury people really think about as an actual injury, but it really is. But in terms of your body, mate, arms, legs, and everything like that, what was your biggest or major injury there to do with your actual body?
Yeah, so I would have had like maybe 4 or 5 surgeries on my knee, my right knee. Yeah. And that was just meniscus to the point where there was nothing left. And then they end up having to drill into my bone marrow. So then it kind of bled and formed a scab. And then that ended up being my cartilage for the last couple of years of my career.
Oh, wow.
That one hurt a bit, but it got worse when I broke my left leg and dislocated my ankle during a game. And then that kind of probably inhibited me from the rest of my career, where you're hobbled around on one leg. And that I was lucky with that rehab, where it's usually, a 3-month injury, where I did it in round 22. So the last round or second last round of the season. Yeah. So I think I missed 1 game, and then I had a whole preseason in a moon boot, did my rehab, and then I was ready to go round 1. So I didn't actually miss a lot of football, but I carried that injury where, again, I wasn't the best runner to start with, and then I was hobbling around on one leg for a while. So, and obviously inhibited the way your lateral movement, and that so slowed me down a little bit. Where at the back end of your career, you need all the speed you can get to keep up with the young guys, and I was
they keep getting quicker.
They did, and I didn't need a broken leg to slow me down to make me any slower. So that was one of the more challenging ones, where towards the back end of your career, you start thinking, I'm getting pretty slow now, and my movement isn't what it used to be. So just trying to find ways to be more professional and get that edge, so you could perform at 100%. It's an interesting one where, when I reckon when I first started, people just carry injuries all the time into games. Like if you had a niggle, you'd always carry it. And then, but I reckon at the end of my career, and now that I see the guys who are coming through, I reckon and it might not be the case, but how I see it is they're a bit more sensitive, where they won't carry injuries, where I feel, because the game's so quick and played at such a skillful level now, you can't afford to be going in at 50-60% or carrying a niggle, because you get found out with the speed of the game. And I think guys now, you have to be pretty much at near enough top level to compete at a really high level, just from witnessing. So I remember, and I could be wrong with this, but I remember Gary Ablett playing, and you heard little things where it's like, he used to, I remember just hearing little things where it was like, if Gaz isn't feeling 100%, he wouldn't play. But then you knew he competed at such a high level. Like you could totally understand that he was on another level for what everyone else was at. If he was at 70%, he'd still be better than anyone else. But I think how I read it is that, if you're going in at 70%, you're going to find it hard to compete with the guys now, and how much they and how fast and fit and skillful everyone is, and the game moves so quick that if you're a little bit off, you're going to get found out for sure.
It's something that's sort of progressed over time. Probably you've sort of caught both ends of like injuries happening inside the first, like people going into games with 60 or 70%, as you said, and then nowadays it's just everything seems a lot more professional is probably the right word, and maybe it's not the right word, but it's more, people are taking a lot more care of themselves these days, because I think people don't want to go into games, as you said, underdone, because they'll get found out, and you never know what's going to happen in terms of those things.
And you also, if you're heading in with an injury, the chances of you doing the injury worse are very, very high as well. So it's like, you just got to, if you are a little bit injured or sore, it's like, just get yourself right. So then, you compete at that high level.
Definitely. Now, with injuries comes rehab. Now, how were you as a rehabber from your young days to the end of your career? How were you as a rehabber? Were you good, or were you?
Always really, really look forward to the rehab and getting better. And like I said, I got a real kick out of being like super professional with that stuff, where it was like, right, what else can I do? I know I've been given the program, but what else can I do to get better? And like, because there was that whole thing where if you got injured and they said, it'll be it's a 12-week injury, it's like, right, how can I turn this into an 8-week injury? Like, it was just, it was just like, right, what else can I do? I understand it's a 12-week injury, but that's for the normal person. Like, what can I do it in? So, I used to love just finding new ways on how to get back quicker and how to get back stronger and do more than what anyone else ever did.
Yeah, as I was chatting to Bo Waters, an former West Coast Eagle, and he's like, the 12-week or the 8-week or whatever they say is like a guide. It's not necessarily how long it's going to take, but if you put in the work, it may take a little bit less time. So I think that was something that resonated with me and him. And he's like, I know it's 12 weeks, but if I put in the work, I can get back in 9 or 8 or whatever. And I mean, it sounds like you were the same, and just wanted to get back and do the work and try and get back earlier and just get out and play with your mates.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's the rehab group was hell. was absolute hell. So basically what you had to do is come to all the normal training sessions. And then when everyone else goes home, that's when you start your training session. So it was like, and it was usually you're hoping there was a lot of people injured. But yeah, if there was no one injured, you'd be doing that on your own. So it's like you watch training and then you're off doing a run on your own, or you go into the swimming pool on your own and you do a gym on your own. So yeah, it was pretty lonely in the rehab group. But and that's probably part of the reason why I was like, if it's a 12-week injury, I don't want to be here for 12 weeks. I want to be out of here as quick as possible. So yeah, it was hell. Rehab was hell. But as a player, everyone goes through it. So I suppose, yeah, as a player, you always looked at the guys that were in rehab, particularly those guys that did ACLs and multiple ACLs. Like I was super, super fortunate that I never did. But yeah, you just feel for those guys with the 12-month injury, like how you mentally prepare yourself for something like that. And if you're doing multiple ones, yeah, it was crazy, the strain and the doubt that would have caused, for sure.
At either end of your career, did you sort of confide in someone? Was there someone that was almost always there when you were injured? Or, I mean, it's probably strange timing, but like, was there anyone always there when you were injured or anything like that? Or someone you sort of lent on in the rehab group or anything like that?
I think it was pretty important that your rehab coach has a caring way about him. I know at the Lions we had Selwyn Griffin, who is now the head of S&C at Melbourne Demons. So he was an absolute star at his job, and he had that empathy and care about him, and he was good for a laugh as well. So I always found the rehab coach was super, super important to manage those guys in that space, because yeah, without doubt, those guys had mental challenges as well as their physical challenge while they're in rehab.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's always good to have that sort of, if you can build a really good rapport with them, even though obviously you don't want to be there, but if you can build a good rapport, they're going to always want the best for you. And then obviously you want the best for you. So you're attacking the one goal together. So, and that goes a long way for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously there's always young athletes, as I've been talking about. I know you've been about, I'm sure this is probably where you'll go with the answer, but what would you tell like a young player sort of who's about to get drafted or goes through an injury, whether it be serious or minor? What's something sort of to keep with them? And I know you mentioned something before. Is that sort of what you tell them?
Probably prepare yourself that you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is prevention as well. So I know a lot of the clubs do it now, but the prehab where you're doing a lot of exercise to prevent injury, it is so crucial, and it feels very tedious to do it, but it's super, super important. But then also, yeah, when you do get injured, probably that whole just ask questions, look for more to do, what more work can you do? And a lot of the times it might be, no, just go and rest. And it's like, okay, why am I resting? Should I be icing? Should I be putting heat on? Should I put the Normatec on for my legs? You know, can I be doing Pilates? Can I be doing any more stretching? Like, is there water running? Like hydrotherapy? Like, there's so many things out there, and some of them are probably no good. But it's just asking the question, like, what more can I be doing? Because again, yep, there is a base level of rehab and what you can do that everyone else is doing, but it's about being as professional as you can be and getting back out there as quick as you can be. So yeah, asking questions and finding out what more you can do.
Yeah, perfect. No, that sounds like something I could use that advice as well. I reckon. Keep going with mine. Now, I understand you've done a bit of coaching as well since you've finished. Yeah.
So when I retired, I got involved with the AFLW, the Brisbane Lions team. So I was a coach, their backline and forward line for about 4 years. So the first 2 years we made the granny, we lost it. And then after the fourth year, work got a bit too busy and I've got a young family as well. And I stopped coaching them. And then in the 5th year, they won. So I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I laid the foundations for that premiership. Or I could have been the jinx where they just had to get rid of me before they won. And then once I left, the door was open for them to win the competition.
Not salty at all.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, now, I mean, coaching as well. Like you see plenty of injuries as well and whatnot. And I'm sure you give the advice that you've just given to the listeners and whatnot. When you were coaching, did you see any? I mean, probably any gruesome injuries or any big injuries that you sort of had to sort of calm a player down or anything like that, or even an ex-teammate may have been a shock to them. Have you seen any?
I think the worst ones are concussions. Like concussions are the worst injuries I see. Where those head knocks are absolutely gruesome, and where people just don't know where they are and feel physically ill, and helping. Yeah, I've had to help players off the field with that, or even teammates where. It's just so worrying, the concussion stuff, long term as well as short term. So, it's one you got to be super, super careful. And I'm glad they've brought in some protocols where, it's a 10-day rest. I think when you see your teammates get concussed and then get themselves up and play the following week, it definitely doesn't sit well. When you're watching, you're like, mate, you sure you're all right? But they're the ones, that I'm most concerned with when you watch them. But from a really, really bad injury, I think just the heartbreaking ones when your teammates do an ACL. I remember seeing an opposition player, Michael Riscatelli, do one for the Suns. He was actually an old teammate of mine and mate of mine. And I was like, oh man, I saw him do it, and it's just, it's heartbreaking because you know what goes into it. It's 12 months on the sideline at minimum, and it's and the rehab's brutal. So I think the ACLs are definitely the worst ones.
Oh, I can resonate with that one. I actually had Riscatelli on the last episode of last year, and I actually got to hear about that. So it's never fun, and especially exactly watching a teammate knowing what you're thinking for them. Imagine what they're thinking and everything like that. It's not a great injury, and
no, 100%.
It's no fun, and there's a lot of work involved with it for sure. So can imagine it's never easy. Now, to sort of finish the podcast, what I like to do is a bit of a draft. So sort of keep the theme sort of AFL and all that type of stuff. And so I thought today's draft we'd go sports in which, if you could, just turn pro tomorrow. All right. Yep. So we'll go back and forth, and we'll choose sports. We can't double up. So if you take one, I can't have it, and vice versa. So if you take one, I can't have it. So do you want to kick things off, or do you want me to?
Better let me kick it off.
Of course. I'll let you go. Yeah, go for it.
Probably number one would be surfing for sure.
Oh, nice.
Obviously seeing Kelly Slater as a 49-year-old win pipeline the other day. Pretty unbelievable.
Yeah. That was insane.
Crazy. But I know they obviously train really hard, those boys. But I think, what a job, hey? What a job.
Oh, get in the water, have a bit of. I mean, it's not having a bit of fun, but it's like it really is. Like, I mean,
100%.
And I can imagine being so close. You'd love it. You'd love it. Absolutely love it. So good number one. I reckon just for the pure of traveling and all that, I'd love to see what it's like to be a tennis player. I mean, I played a lot growing up, but I reckon if I had the chance to just turn pro and just travel around the world and get to play my favorite sport or whatever, it'd be absolutely sick. So I think I think tennis has got to be. I mean, although there's a lot of controversy in tennis at the moment with particular people, but I wouldn't go down that route. But I think I'd have to go with that one. What have you got? What do you got for me next?
Going with that theme of traveling the world, I reckon a golfer. Golfing would be pretty good, and you wouldn't have to be that fit either. Like and you could play till you're like 70, and and just clean up. So obviously, I'm not a very good golfer, and I understand how difficult it is. But I think as a professional sport, that would be easy living. That's for sure.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I couldn't be a guy. I'd slice too much, so I won't be doing it. I won't be getting on the course, but definitely for traveling for sure. Now, this is probably a theme that I watched on the other day, so it's sort of in my head. I'd love to be an NFL player, and just there's so many different positions in that team that I could not get hit all year and still earn so much money. I could just be a kicker and just kick the ball and score points, and that's all I have to do. And I get to travel the States every now and then. There's an overseas game, and just be a bit of fun, I reckon. And my Rams got up on Monday, so I'm very happy. So keen watcher, but yeah, definitely an NFL player for sure.
The kicker would be a dream, although you'd be the outcast of the team. So you probably wouldn't have any mates, but
maybe the punter might be your mate.
Yeah, exactly. Going along with that theme, NBA, biggest sports in the world.
Yeah. I was wondering which one to go.
100%. Live the dream over there playing NBA. Like, obviously, you don't play for money, but it'd be pretty nice to be playing in the NBA, getting that sort of ridiculous money that they throw around. So, and I suppose getting to hang out with unbelievable athletes as well, and just a worldwide game. Yeah, every kid's dream.
Oh, no doubt. Big fan of the NBA as well. So definitely stole one there for sure. Now, look, I'm gonna go something that I wouldn't usually, but I've been watching the Winter Olympics, so I'm on a theme. So, I'd love to be able to snowboard. So I think I don't think anyone knows this, but if I could get on the snow, I'd definitely choose a bit of snowboard. May not lead to as much as many dollars, but still going and competing in the Olympics and all that type of stuff would be really cool, and probably not good for the 3 knees that I've done. But hey, we can scrap all that and just pretend that I haven't done them. But I reckon snowboarding would be a bit of fun. But even though I've never done it, but why not?
I mean, 100%. I think, if that was your profession, like how good was that? Just again, tour the world.
True. Yeah,
the best slopes. Like, geez, must be hard.
That's it. I think we got a couple more, 2 more each. 2 more.
All right, 2 more. A little bit left to center, but I don't know if it's a sport, but I reckon a professional fisherman. Would be unbelievable. Where surely again, no training involved, and
sensing a theme here.
Yes, doing as little amount of training as possible to become a professional athlete. That's my team.
No, love it. That's good, and nice and relaxing as well. That's the best part about it, I reckon. That's a good one.
100%.
That's a good one. Haven't done too much fishing in my time, but definitely a good one. Look, I'll go with cricketer. I'm a big fan of cricket, so I can't leave that one off my list. So again, world traveling, even if it's just domestic as well, playing for your state or anything like that, I think that'd be pretty fantastic, and probably one of my favorite sports. So I can live with just playing in the domestic. But Australia, that if you need a slow right arm bowler, you know where I am. So we'll go with cricket.
And probably my last sport would be, I reckon, probably I was being a bike rider, I've got one good asset I do have is I've got a big set of quaddies. So I think they will help me become a good professional rider. I'm probably thinking mountain biking, uphill, downhill, mountain biking rather than the Tour de France. Again, endurance, not my cup of tea. So probably the uphill, downhill. So work uphill, rest on the downhill would suit me to a T. That's for sure.
No, nice. I can attest to that. The big legs and everything like that. Definitely. That's how I'm built as well. So I can understand that. The old the quads and the calves and everything like that. That's good. I like that one. Now to finish, I'm just going to go with a pure selfish one. Money hungry. I'm going to go with soccer or football, as they call it. Yeah. I mean, I've never played a game of it in my life, but I'm choosing it for money. So, I mean, and you know what? And be a goalkeeper. I'm going to specify and be a goalkeeper. So, yeah.
I respect that. Yeah.
I was a goalkeeper once, maybe, in a school game, and I enjoyed that. So, I think I'll go with soccer to finish, or football for those real passionate fans.
Nice, mate.
But yeah, no,
nice top five.
That's it. No, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, that'll just about do us, mate. So I really appreciate you coming on, giving up some time and providing a whole lot of insight about playing days and injuries and as well as the draft at the end there. So appreciate you coming on, mate.
Too easy, mate. And yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I appreciate the chat.
No worries, mate. Now, remember to like, share, and subscribe all our socials: Facebook at Under Pressure Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, Under Pressure 1_, and to subscribe to the Under Pressure Podcast wherever you do listen to your podcast. We're on just about everything at the moment. Once again, I'd like to thank Dan for jumping on the Under Pressure Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you on the next.